Good morning, everyone. It's Melissa. Thanks for joining me here. So I just want to talk a minute, encourage moms. I'm a mom of five. That's who I am, a wife and a mom. And I just had visitors over, girls. If you watch my videos, some girls over this weekend that I absolutely love and adore. They are amazing young girls. And so we had a great weekend. We had an awesome weekend. And we had a lot of structure, but also downtime. So as a mom, of course, a lot of memories come back for me of how I raised my kids when I'm looking after other kids. So we all went out last night to a restaurant. I had another friend over too. We all went out. We enjoyed dinner together, and of course, when there's steak on the menu, as a kid, they're not getting that. And so you want to be able to have a lot of fun with kids, but you want firm rules in place, and you want to hold on to your budget. You don't want to be like, okay, you can get whatever you want, not unless it's like, you have extra money, birthday or something. So we shared, I ordered a drink for myself, shared with them, free refills, find ways to do things really cheap. I did a pizza, which makes it, simple and easy for everybody to eat. So when you are raising kids, you want to mainly focus on your kids. I know there's a lot that distracts us, and there's a lot that can take your time away from you and your kids. And you really, I think back to the focus I had. It was really about my kids. That's who it was about. I spent a lot of time with them. I was on the floor playing with them. I was, as they got older, I would, sit and play games with them, video games. You want to really develop a relationship with your kids. But yet you also want to be teaching them and taking opportunities with your own kids to teach them, to train them up in the Lord. The Bible says in Deuteronomy, you should basically talk about God when you walk with them, when you sit with them at night. And so that's something that I did as a mom. You definitely want to bring your kids to church. We went to church yesterday. You want to give them opportunity to know God. You want to do everything you can so that they will know God. You do not want to put a stumbling block in front of your kids when it comes to God. So yesterday the girls had enjoyed Sunday school. We talked about that when we had a few minutes. What did you learn? What was it about? It was putting on the armor of God, and they really enjoy this particular church and this Sunday school. So I told them, every Sunday they want to come over, they are welcome to come by. So we talked about that. When you can find a good Sunday school for your kids and they enjoy it, even if they don't when they're little, even if, my sons all enjoyed, they had a couple really good teachers that they really enjoyed. I think every teacher they had, they liked. One of my sons was like, this teacher gave me stickers, and she gave us a stuffed animal, and, so the little things matter too. So Awana, one of my sons is volunteering starting next week, and he is investing in kids over there. There's about 400 kids or so at that church, and their Awana is booked every single year. They have so many kids in the city who come to Awana, and it fills up really fast. So, have your kids in Awana, have them doing stuff with other kids. You want the church activities to back up what you're doing at home. But as a mom, having the cleanest home in the world is not the priority. It's just not. It's something that, for me, when I was in the trailer, that was not the main focus. It was taking care of me, and it was taking care of my kids, And as I had become a Christian, it was now investing in myself with classes, parenting classes, Bible studies, and then my kids. And there was a lot of work to do. I mean, a lot. I would not be able to have this YouTube channel when my kids were young. There's no way I'd be able to do it because I was constantly, I had 3 young ones right away, a year and a half apart and then like 2 years apart. And at that focus or at that level, there is no way that you have time really for much other than taking care of your children and your husband. And so I had a lot of work to do, more than most people. So I did not just have like this one child and had a clean home and all that. I had not only, me changing as a Christian, but I had a lot of family still around at that time. I had people visiting. I had, a lot going on top of 3 kids and then learning how to homeschool. So it was one of the busiest times in my whole entire life, but it was a good investment. It was a real good investment. And, and you're learning how to be a mom. So don't worry about everything else, right? That bond with your kids is the most important. And your husband. I mean, there were a few times he felt neglected, and you don't want to do that with your husband. I mean, you want to make sure that you have time with him. But anyways, I think of those first few years, they were a lot of fun. And as a mom, you want to stay encouraged. So when I would go out places, because, I'll tell you now, there's something about when people get older and they become grandparents. Obviously I could keep up if I needed to with kids right now, but I would not have the same type of investment as I had years ago at my age. There is no way, even if I had 3 young kids, I would be able to keep up and homeschool and invest in myself at the pace I did when I first had my kids. There's just no way. I mean, I was on everything with I was on it with my kids. I had tons of energy when I was younger to stay on, just on everything that I felt was important. Now, there is no way I would be able to invest at that same amount of energy. So do it when you're young. Have your family when you're young, guys. I think, we have different people who are like, well, I have my kids when they're older. I mean, have your kids when you're young, but when you have kids when you're older, I'm on both sides because I had kids when I was young and I had them when I was older. My last one, I was 35 when I was pregnant with him. So I just talked about the benefits of having kids when you're older too. I still have an 18-year-old that I am enjoying and watching him as he, grows and does all this stuff with his life, right? But that was like I did want more kids. I did, but we only had 5. And 35 was kind of like, okay, this is the cutoff because I am getting older. There's more danger. Usually, well, I did talk to a woman who had hers, I think her last one at 38. And I said something like, yeah, it can be harder when you're older. And she said, not nowadays. She said, nowadays they do so much for you when you're older. Still though, 35 was really pushing it for me to have any more kids. It really was. Maybe one more, but it was really pushing it. But I'm seeing the benefits now of having all my kids. That was my whole life. My life was just having kids. Not completely, but, I did other stuff. But I gave, over 30 years of my life just to mothering. So that was my calling in life. That was my major calling, is being a mother. And now it's helping other women be mothers and have children and not to have abortions, etc. But after my husband, that was my main calling. My main calling was being married. It really was. So So at, 30, 35 years old, I mean, that's really pushing it. But I see the benefits now. But still, with having kids older, if you have them also when they're, younger, when you're younger, you're going to already have that investment. And that's what you want. You want them when you're young, and then you have a very strong, strong hand, strong investment. And if I did not have such a strong hold or strong hand on my family when they were young, I would not have been able to persevere up until now. So obviously now, at my youngest being 18, I have it much easier. I have plenty of time for myself, but I would not have had the same, you know, same outcome if I had fooled around. If I was like, okay, I have three young ones, I'm not really going to, really get in there and really push it and really have a strong hold on my family. I'm going to, take it easy, be laid back. I would not have had the strength with my last two. I don't think I would have. And so my last two, there's also things that come up too. You need to stay strong when you're a mom. I mean, I had, if my kids did not get, we were pretty healthy, like I said, but, one of them had a concussion. One of them, my fourth one, ended up in the hospital for 3 days. I almost lost him. I saw him on the couch. I watched my kids like a hawk. He was only 3 months old, and I had laid him on the couch while I did some vacuuming, and he turned white. And this is how close I watched my kids, and I saw him, got him to the hospital and stuff, and they didn't know what was the matter. At first, they couldn't figure out what was the matter, so I had to take him up to Dartmouth along with my three other kids, and they had said it must have been reflux. They did catch it at the hospital and saw that he stopped breathing for a minute, so they said it was reflux. He was choking on his own spit when he spit up, and he couldn't keep, milk down. So I don't know how true it was, but that's what they came up with. And so, I mean, you've got to be on it, ladies, as a mom, because there's things that come your way too that you don't even see coming. I mean, you just gotta be on it. I had to deal with doctors who didn't want me to, some of the immunizations I didn't do, they didn't like that. I had to watch the doctors. They would usually try to dismiss me from the room and talk about sex ed with my kids. I'm like, no, excuse me, I'm the mom. I think you can address me. A lot of times the doctors would come in and they would just address my kid, a few of them. I always had different doctors at this clinic. And I'd be like, hi, I'm the mom, So I would really have to put myself in there. And, a lot of doctors will try to get your kids on their own and talk to your kids without you. And I was just like, no, I'm the mom, And then I had to deal with the school system too as a homeschool mom and put my foot down there. And I've had to deal with superintendents and say, hey, I'm the mom and this is how I homeschool. And here's your notification, and that's all you need legally. I can change my curriculum when I want. And so, you just grow stronger as a mom too, I think, when you have to deal with people and even family. This is my family. You had your turn. This is my family. So you've got to be really strong too, guys. And there's so much, it's like a multi-facet diamond when you're mothering and you have a family. You have to serve children. You have to serve them. You have to be their mom. You can, there are times you can lay low, be their friend, but you are still their mom. And that's what you have to remember. You're not their, little bestie in a sense of lowered standards, So, and then the teenage years, get ready for that, ladies. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story that I have for another day. I had one that experimented with marijuana, and it was laced with fentanyl, and, it was just a mess. He had gone to jail for 6 months. Couldn't get him back to normal because they experimented on him with social. He was like a guinea pig with drugs. I mean, I could not get him They couldn't stabilize him in the jail. He came back home, and I'm like, he's off the medications, and he was right back to himself. So when you think you're done at 18, you are not done, especially with sons at 18. It's usually between 18 and 25 is probably the most dangerous, I think, time for sons until, excuse me, until they mature. And even then, once they start maturing, it's not until about around 30 that they start really maturing and calming down a little bit. So, as a mom of 5 sons, after 18 is the hardest time I found. And it's not because they're on their own, it's because they are just still developing. They are still, they still got things going on. So, as a mom, encouragement here to take care of yourself, love your children, love your husband, and take care of you. And don't worry about all the cleaning and stuff and everything else. I kept my trailer, I decluttered a lot, and that was important for me to have room to homeschool and focus on my priorities, not all the gifts people gave us. So, do what you can, stay as organized as you can. It doesn't have to be too picky. Most of my kids, their toys just went in bins, easy, easy peasy stuff. We had one room with 3 kids, bunk beds, everything in bins. Keep it, pick up after yourself. That was the hardest thing that I had to teach my kids because I don't do it. I do more now, but I didn't then. And so picking up after yourselves. And I was telling the girls, pick up after yourself before we go swimming. Pick up after yourself. Put the food away right away before we go do something else. And that's going to be your biggest tool, I think, for keeping your home somewhat, clean and somewhat organized so that you can function. Just pick up after yourself. And it's so simple. But once those big messes happen, it's harder to deal with. So give yourself a schedule. I had a schedule. I had a schedule with my boys. This is when we get up. When they get older, these are the chores. This is the schedule. This is when we do school. We have a snack break, school again, lunch, school again, snack break, and a break to do whatever, not whatever they want, but free recreation, going out, doing what you want. This was as a homeschool mom. And then, 5 o'clock preparing for dad to get home. Let your kids be excited to see dad. Make it fun. Dad's coming home, Get ready. Let's all pick up. Let's get excited for dad to come home. Those are the things that go unseen that dad doesn't always see. Prepare their hearts, 6 o'clock dinner, family time, and bedtime. That's a pretty good schedule during the week. And then weekends, different schedule. So that's what I got for now, guys. And stay encouraged, mums.